any of the characters' names in Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Ford. His name is Ford
Yeah,
Brogan.
see, well, congratulations, you got me. You but no, that's not so I didn't know Ford. Well, why don't we since we're recording, why don't we just fucking start over here?
All right, one sec. 4 weeks. 5 films. 2 best friends. And a whole lot of kaiju. This is VGU's Into the MonsterVerse. Okay. Alright, you want me to just jump right in?
Sure.
Alright. Oh, hello everybody. And welcome to the first of a experimental retrospective podcast hosted by me, Graydon Webb. And I'm joined today by DJ, the 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 DJ. how, how you
Yep,
doing?
that's it. That's my occupation. How'd you know?
I don't know. Do
You
you
weren't
put
supposed to tell anyone about my summer job!
do you put your I don't think your last name is online in any form.
Yeah, it is. It's on Twitter, DJ Risio.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
where like I post very radically with my full name.
Really showing them, really
Oh
sticking
yeah.
it to the man. Um, so what we're gonna do is over the next 4 weeks, we're going to,
God willing.
God willing, if everything goes right, we're gonna revisit the Legendary Pictures MonsterVerse. Now, what this means is there's Godzilla versus Kong. What's it called? Frozen Empire.
Wait, Kong Skull Island?
Kong Skull Island 2, the movie coming out in
The upcoming one. Oh, it's Godzilla X Kong / fan fiction.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's like / fan fiction, I think. Yeah.
My Monkey and Me.
Yeah, My Monkey and Me. I think Zaboomafoo's in it.
I hope so.
That'd be
God.
I would love Zaboomafoo.
So that comes out at the end of March. So what we're gonna do is go over some of the all of the stuff so far. Hopefully, if we get to Monarch, maybe we do, maybe we don't. Maybe we get to that uh, Netflix exclusive monkey show that nobody watched.
Yeah, I saw that while trying to find a place to watch Kong Skull Island. And it was like, huh. I saw the thumbnail and was like, huh, that doesn't look good.
Is it
And then I
animated?
moved on. What?
Is it?
Yeah. It's like 3D animated.
That's
There's a
weird.
Godzilla one as well.
Oh Jesus.
I I I heard the Godzilla one was shit, and then for some people I heard it was okay. So I haven't heard anyone talk about the Kong one, which is probably even worse.
That's it's weird because the Kong one is part of the multiverse, the MonsterVerse, but I
Yeah.
don't think the Godzilla one is.
No, the Godzilla one is separate, I believe.
Weird. And that's not to be confused with Shin Godzilla, right? Which is a
Right, Shin Godzilla is its completely own thing.
okay.
And same with like -1, which I still haven't seen. I need to. Everyone tells me that I would love it.
Oh,
And I bet I would, because everything I've seen of it looks amazing.
you would love it. Very good shit. And hey, maybe if you see it by the end, we'll touch upon it. But
There you go.
today we are going to touch upon the initial films, Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island 2017, which we have both recently rewatched and taken extensive notes upon.
And
And
to put this into perspective, we both saw in theaters Godzilla 2014 when it first came out, like the week or second week of release.
yeah,
The theater was empty.
was it?
There was 2 or 3 other people in that theater, yes.
Oh my god! I remember
That
sitting
was
in
it.
the back, but I don't
But
remember anyone else.
yes, we were in the back. We were in like the back center. There were like 2 people in the row in front of us, and then down towards the front was some single guy. I still vividly remember this
You're on a different
because
level.
oh yeah, I still vividly remember this because Adam Sandler's Blended was playing in the theater next to us, and it was packed. So the entire time we were just making jokes about Blended and talking about the movie as if it was Blended. Like like I remember saying, dude, when Adam Sandler ripped open Drew Barrymore's throat and atomic breath down it, that was crazy.
I
And
I think our
and
parents
that
didn't
is
know what
that is why I had like good memories of this movie, was because we went to see it and I had fun. And rewatching it is really 2 hours of my life I'm not getting back.
Oh, it's not that bad.
It's like it this movie should not be called Godzilla. It should be called Generic White Man featuring Godzilla. 8 minutes of Godzilla, mind you.
It's weird because both of them are military movies, but
But they're done very differently though.
they are, and
Because Godzilla, why don't we start at the beginning? Why don't we start at the beginning of Godzilla and we will get to the military part when we get to it, I think.
okay.
So my literal opening notes for Godzilla are, first of all, I love the intro of like the black and white like film reels and stuff. Um, is like very, very good.
Like the
I
opening
I
credits.
I absolutely love that, how it shows like the old like Godzilla stuff and them testing the nukes. And Kong Skull Island actually does something similar. It first has like the opening of what's his name, who is later played by John C. Riley, fighting a Japanese soldier because they're both stranded there.
Mhm.
But then after that, it does the same thing with like the reels and stuff like that. And I thought, I was like, man, this is really good. And the music is really good as well. But in Godzilla 2014, they almost exclusively use music during transitions. I think there were only two other parts they ever had any music.
I
Um,
wondered that.
which was a little strange, I thought, but the music was very good.
And
From
it's
there,
the Godzilla theme, right? Like, that is they do utilize
it's
this
sort of
theme?
like a remix of Godzilla's theme, yeah.
Okay.
Um, but again, it was all good. I would say the best music in Godzilla 2014 is actually towards the end where they're skydiving, they airdrop into the city,
Mhm.
and it's just covered in smoke, and the smoke looks like a nuke has gone up, like up above, and then they like pass through the smoke and they come in, and the music is downright disturbing. It's really creepy, and it actually reminds me very much of the witch theme from Left 4 Dead. Like it sounds just like it.
Oh, wow.
Um, but yes, the music was awesome. Bryan Cranston is awesome, even if like I feel like they kind of pulled a Last of Us 2 type thing where
Yeah.
th they made it seem like this person was going to be there the entire time, and then no, he dies 15 minutes in.
Isn't that,
Um,
except for the death, isn't that what Metal Gear 2 does?
no, no. So Metal Gear 2, the trailer that they showed was of the first like third of the game where you play a snake, and then the last two thirds you play as Raiden, and people didn't like that. And then later on, people decided they liked Raiden. I don't know. I always kind of liked Raiden, but I also played Metal Gear Solid 2 for the first time like 5 years ago, so I wasn't like fooled by a trailer. I knew what I was getting into anyways.
Right, right.
But anyways, Bryan Cranston is awesome. The music was awesome, even though it's in transition. The CGI is of course awesome. That is consistent throughout these films. Like holy shit,
Now
it's always just so good. And then my immediate note after all the good stuff is, where the fuck is Godzilla?
good, let me stop you there so I can touch upon a couple of things. So, to go back to the initial music thing, I was finding while we do have, like, a military movie, I felt there were some aspects that were, like, some kinda well done horror bits, and I
Yes.
feel like with the sound, you're right about the music, but do you agree that there was, like, some good, like, ambiance? Like, the way that they use silence in that movie is
Okay.
really, really cool.
I get what you're getting, and I think yes, when things are supposed to be very quiet, it's so good. But that also leads into like one of my actually like biggest complaints with the whole film, aside from Godzilla barely being in it,
Yes.
uh, is the audio mixing, dude. Like it's like way too quiet a lot of the time. Like when they're just talking, and I'm like, what the hell? And then it's like, and then sometimes it's not even the mixing. Sometimes it's like, why are they whispering?
I did notice that. Yeah,
Like
the
that happens a
dialogue,
lot in the first half of the movie. I'm like, I cannot hear you guys.
and
Speak
then the
up.
audio kicks in when there's, like, a big boom or something, and it's just
Yes.
like it's not made
Yeah,
for home
it's
stereo.
Yeah, no, it's kind of wacky. I don't really know what exactly is up with that. But I do think that yes, when it's supposed to be quiet, when it's supposed to be silent, is when it's so good. And that goes back to that skydiving scene, that airdrop scene, where
Mhm.
it is just that music, but it has music, but it's still so eerily silent. Like it is incredibly well done. Um, I mean, I know the guy who did the soundtrack, Alexander Desplat, I think. I think that's
Mhm.
I'm probably not pronouncing that wrong, but he's done some pretty cool stuff. I'll say I definitely like all of the later soundtracks a lot more. Original soundtracks, I should say. I'm not going to count Kong Skull Island. The original music in Skull Island is very good, but a lot of it is licensed music because Vietnam era, which isn't a complaint. I love it. You know, um, but when you get Bear McCreary in, when we get to King of the Monsters, I mean, dude, go Godzilla! Come on, it's great. It's
I
such a good vibe.
I don't remember a lot of King of the Monsters, so I'm very excited to read
I
that.
I I'm gonna have a lot to say about King of the Monsters. We'll leave it at that. I love King of the Monsters.
Well, that leads me to a question I had written down because you had said when I first texted you that you've seen these a lot. Did you
Well,
now
so I've seen like King of the Monsters like 3 or 4 times. I've seen Kong Skull Island like 2 3 times. 3 times, yeah, because when I watched it for this was the third time. I've watched Godzilla versus Kong twice.
but this was your first rewatch of Godzilla since we were in the theater?
Godzilla 2014, yes.
Really?
Yes, this is my first time watching it since we saw it damn near 10 years ago now.
I don't rewatch movies, but we were gonna do this retrospective when Kong versus Godzilla came out, and it didn't work. So I had rewatched Godzilla 2014 then, and then this time I still enjoy it. I don't know. It's just something about it. And maybe it is a nostalgia type of thing because I remember having fun like going to see it.
Yeah,
And
no, and again, I think the only reason I originally enjoyed this was because I was with you and I was
yeah,
having a good time, and also like, I mean, what? Geez, 10 years ago, I would have been 15.
right.
So no, not I would have been 14 at the time. Um, 14, whatever, 14, 15.
So we were
So I
children.
feel like my ability to really dive deep and analyze a movie isn't probably wasn't so good back then. But I will also say generally, you're not supposed to do that with a monster movie. It's just a monster movie. You're supposed to just kind of look at things, depending on the monster movie. You look at like -1 Shin Godzilla, original Godzilla. There's a lot to go in there. But when you look at, like the like later like Godzilla films where it's like, oh, versus Destroya or like Space Godzilla, it's like you're there for the monster fights, right? Same with King of the Monsters. It's like you don't really need to go too deep into that.
Mhm.
Um, and I think you're not supposed to go too deep into Godzilla here. You're just supposed to enjoy the monster fights, right? Unfortunately, where's the monster fight?
Right, and I think, I had that thought with minus zero. That was got -1?
-1.
What's -0? -1, um, when you see it, you'll see that there's, like, a really good amount of Godzilla in it to the point that, like, he's always there, he's always a presence, and it's always fun to see him, but you've also got this narrative with humans that makes you think, and it's downright emotional, and
Right, and that's the big thing though. Is like even just from what I've read, what seen, having not seen -1, I am already invested in these characters just from the bits I've seen and read, and I could not give less of a shit about the characters in 2014, except for my boy, was it, Dr. Ishiro? Was it Ishiro?
God,
Shizawa, I believe that's his.
Serizawa, Dr.
Yeah,
Serizawa,
that's it's Ishiro Serizawa. Um, but
and I like him too. I
and
like
I like him, and I mean I like his character. He has a lot of really cool lines in this movie. I mean, all of his lines and everything he does is really cool. But also Ken Watanabe is awesome. I love him. He's such a cool actor.
yeah, no, he's very good. He always has this, like, ominous presence to him while also being, like, a kind-hearted guy.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
and he's so cool in Godzilla 2014 just because like I'm like man. he's the only like human character in this that I care about, and he also says such cool things compared to generic white military man number 15 who's named after an American car because he's a real American man. Fucking Ford
For
over here. It was a very not diverse cast. Um, I'll say it was definitely not a very diverse cast compared to Kong Skull Island, which had a very diverse cast.
very
And
diverse and like an ensemble
everyone
cast.
in that was great. However, Godzilla 2014 does have the Letterkenny, so I don't know if you noticed that.
No,
The
who?
the dude from Letterkenny, like the like main guy.
I
Um,
don't.
no, I always just call him John Letterkenny. The like dirty blonde guy. With hold on,
Mm,
I'm going to send you an image. You the This dude like straight in front with the flannel and jeans was in the movie. It's John
mm.
Letterkenny himself.
John.
I literally don't know his name. I just call him John Letterkenny.
Okay, yeah, I do recognize
But
that.
yeah, he is in it very briefly. It's when they're drawing up the plan for like luring them out with the bomb, and they're in a tent.
Oh
And the
my
guy,
goodness.
one of the guys, like setting up the plan is him. It's John Letterkenny.
It's John Letterkenny.
Or I wouldn't have noticed if my friend Noah hadn't pointed out with like, what the fuck? It's him. It's the Letterkenny. I was like, wait, is that actually him? Um,
Oh my god.
so that was kind of wild. But yeah, it's like there's so many bits where it's like they try to humanize these characters, which is good. Um, but then it's also like, why should I care? Like I remember there's like they try to humanize Ford pretty early on when he's on a train and just this kid gets stuck there. He's like, "Don't worry, I'll help you." And
Mhm.
and it's like he's supposed to help him, but the kid's screaming, freaking out, and he just forcefully picks up the kid and walks in the opposite direction on the train. And I'm like, that just looks like you're kidnapping him.
Yeah, I
Like this
remember
is
that shot.
not how you handle a kid, and I'm just maybe dislike him more.
He
In
twists
fact,
it around.
I have a note here when a couple notes when in Hawaii. I remember the Hawaii scene because the Hawaii scene I remember being like really cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Is that with the
just like
airport?
yes, the airport when like I have a few things to say about this, but first of all, um, I have when the train was knocked down, people fell out. I have the note, no way, Uncharted 2. Um, and then yeah, and then as the little like kid that he'd said he'd help that I have no attachment to at all because I know nothing about him and Ford's just been an asshole
You
to him
mean
anyways.
Psycho?
Yeah, like the kid starts to slide out and he grabs him. I have oh no, not unnamed boy 3. He swore to protect. I have to care about him.
The little kid from
Um,
Hawaii on the train?
yeah,
His name was Psycho.
they got to see. I couldn't tell you. Not I watched this movie with two of my friends. None of us could tell you anyone's name.
I paid so much attention to everything,
None of us could
mainly
tell you anyone's fucking name. I
listen,
was like,
the
I was like, dude, what's the name? He's like, and my friend's like, I think the main dude is like Ford. And then I think it said Ford on like his vest or something. You're like, ah, Ford. I was like, gotcha, Gerald R. Ford. Okay.
the
Um,
reason the Gerald R. Ford, the reason I paid attention was because I was dead set, as I will be with all of these, on finding the connections. And I really was quite impressed with how, like, right off the gate, you see the Monarch helicopter.
oh
Like
yeah,
like, it all was
no,
so
yeah,
very
they
well
say
connected.
Monarch right off the bat in both this and Kong Skull Island. Yeah.
And I remember when Kong came out, I thought, "How the fuck is any of this, like, connected?" And then there was a stinger at the end, and it was just like, "Oh, that feels forced." But then rewatching
Well,
them, especially
no,
back to
they
back,
talk about Monarch like at the very beginning of the movie.
yeah, no, it's
I
so
think it was
planned.
founded by the character that John Goodman played.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think he
yeah.
was the founder of it. Also, which I think I have a note here. Um, John Goodman, my beloved.
His name
Yeah,
was Randa.
Randa.
But
Um,
yeah, John Goodman was great at that.
no,
Everyone's
they had a
really good.
star-studded cast in Skull Island.
They made Brie Larson good.
I think Brie Larson can be a good actress. It's just that she's in a lot of shit roles.
True. I did think that it was funny that Kong Skull Island is just a big Marvel fuckfest. Like, I mean, all of
Yeah,
this
well,
is.
20 it was made in well, even then, that was before I mean, not for like Hiddleston and whatnot, or Samuel L. Jackson. It was made in what 2017, I think it came out.
Yeah,
So I mean, Brie Larson just happened to be there.
but I mean, Godzilla has Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, and then you've got Sam Jackson. You've got
Wait, where's Elizabeth Olsen?
she's Ford's wife.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to care about her, right? 'Cause she was a nurse, and that makes her more human.
Yeah, they're married and in love in this one, and then in another movie, they're siblings. There's nothing
The only
weird about it at all. Stop thinking about that.
Okay, wait. You're fucking with me because
No,
I made a joke early in the movie, like who's his chick again? His sister,
that's
and
his wife.
Jerry's like, I think it's his wife. I was like, those aren't like mutually exclusive. It's like you're fucking with me right now because that was the running joke for this movie
No,
was
because
that he's married to his sister.
he's Quicksilver and she's Scarlet Witch.
Oh yeah.
And then in this, they are together. And then
They're together and they have a kid who goes happy birthday and then says I think hello and I think those are his two lines, which is fine. I my friend just like brought it up of like, has this kid said anything at all? I'm like, I think he said happy birthday.
he says mommy, and then there's the one where he says, Look, dinosaurs."
Yeah, yes. Um. So, but yeah, I don't care about any of the characters. I have a important note here that says military propaganda. Why don't you take a propaganda at these nuts? Um,
It is
it's
very propaganda.
it's so military
You know what's
propaganda,
the
and
weirdest
I don't
thing?
care about any of them.
No, I don't care about them. And the weirdest thing is that he just goes up to an like a parade of soldiers and he's like, "Hi, I was also in the military." And they're like,
Yeah,
"Come
that was
on,
really weird.
come with us."
It was, yeah, no, there was another thing where like when Bryan Cranston's character died,
Mhm.
he showed nothing. He just didn't care. And then, even if he was going to, and just was, I don't know, maybe struck with shock at first, they immediately cut to the bridge of the aircraft carrier anyways.
Yeah. No, I
They
never
keep trying to humanize this guy and just don't.
he's
It's
really
really weird.
I never really liked Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I,
He
I
was
also I also thought he looked like a tall. I have a note here. Taller discount Malcolm in Middle.
Well,
Um,
you know what else he did, right?
no.
So he was Kick-Ass
What? Oh, really?
before this, yes.
Huh.
And this year he's gonna be Craven
Mm,
in the Sonyverse. So
uh,
he's like a big name. They tried to make him like the Sam Worthington
not
around
for
Godzilla
long,
time.
clearly.
Yeah, he did some other big things, I forget. But,
Yeah, well, he's moving up in the world to Craven after Madam Webb and the Morb. Look out, worlds. Oh my god.
he was in Bullet Train.
Who was he in Bullet Train?
Let's see, without spoiling for me. He was Tangerine, a British assassin.
Oh my god!
There
You
you
haven't seen Bullet?
Not yet.
That's a serious problem. Back on track.
I
Back
know,
on
it's on
track.
the list.
I
But
wanna kind of loop back to like going back to like the monsters and stuff.
yes, the
Um,
CGI was great.
CGI was great. I had a couple weird things to them. So first of all, the Mudos. The Mudos are actually some of my favorite of like the Godzilla like
Really?
monsters. I love them. Well, if you don't know, they're heavily inspired by the bugs from Starship Troopers. Um,
Oh, I see it.
I adore their like angular look. The male one is also inspired by a B-52 stealth bomber. When it's with its wings spread out, it's supposed to look like one.
Oh.
It's I love their designs. I
There's
think
some
they're
really
so
cool
cool.
shots of them.
Yes, there were very cool shots. I also had a note here where when they realized that one of the Mudos is female and has eggs when he's on the train bridge and he like looks up and
Yeah.
he like upskirts the monster for some reason. I have a note here. Hold on. Uh oh yeah, here we go. What the fuck, female monsters? This movie is woke. Um I just thought that was funny. But yes, the Mudo's design is so cool. But you know how like they had like the egg or whatever, right? That they
Mhm.
like didn't want to break open because of they were worried the radiation from it would spill out.
Yeah, it was huge, and then all of a sudden there were small eggs.
Yeah, so there was that, and then later in the movie, they're like, yeah, there was another one over in what area 51 or some shit, and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, we cut it open, so we killed it. It's fine. And I'm like, "But you said you couldn't earlier what?" No, no, and I have a bunch of, like, nitpicky shit of this, of, like, actually, just, like, joking, but that one, I was actually like, "Wait, no. No, that's you very, very explicitly said otherwise."
You broke the lore of
Um,
your made up
the
monsters.
sounds that the Muto make are
Yeah.
incredible. The sound again, the audio mixing has issues, but the sound design is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Everything sounds good, and especially the monsters. I mean, it's chilling when like you first hear Godzilla roar. I mean, the MonsterVerse roar is so good.
It's really
It's
good.
incredible. I will say I found it really weird that the Muto egg that they have is really weirdly shaped. It's like a bingus, you know. I have here. Why does the Muto climax to hatch?
Oh, no.
And at one point, one of the noises it makes is very clearly like a whale noise.
Yeah, they're
Which
definitely
it only does it once, but immediately I was like, That's a whale."
they use some
Um,
animal sounds, you can tell.
yeah. Another thing that I thought was weird was, so like they knew the Muto was going to hatch from this.
Mhm.
They just didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
they had it here for 15 years. They knew this thing was getting ready to hatch. They knew there was something inside of it, and they just didn't. I
so
don't know. I feel like you'd have things like set up like 24/7 for this. I just thought, and again, I know some things are nitpicky, but I feel like this and the cutting open the egg are like two things. Are like that just doesn't make sense. I don't know.
yeah, it seems weird that you would
There's
have
a
a dormant
suspense of
egg.
disbelief, but that just struck me as really weird. Um, right, but yeah, the Mudos, I just love the way they look. I think they're so cool. I also love the idea that they're not predators. They're actually prey for Godzilla. Which, of course, he's king of the monsters, but like like in ancient times, they were prey, like to Godzilla. Like he actually just fed off them, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um.
and it's I also like that they have, like, kind of an emotional side to them. Like, that part
Oh
where
yeah,
the part where the mom goes and is like, "Holy shit, the bomb went
yeah,
off,"
yeah.
and
I
she
I have
cries.
I have a note here. Um. I took a lot. Oh yeah, I have a note here that says, "Call in the Helldivers. We got eggs." And then my babies. They've been aborted. Next time, make explosion-proof babies, dumbass. Um.
You feel for her, though.
No, no, no. I do. I do actually. Which is that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movies because I'm like, they humanize these monsters way more than any of the people. And if they were doing
Right?
the humans are the real monsters thing, then yeah, but they're clearly not. And
Yeah,
I don't even think that's something necessarily, maybe like probably partly on the actors, but it's definitely just bruh. And it's crazy because this entire time I'm thinking, who directed this? Who wrote this? And I'm like, what the fuck? These guys are incredibly talented. How'd they screw this up?
right, it's a
It's
Gareth
it's
Edwards film.
it's written by the dude who co-wrote Across the Spider-Verse. It's directed by the guy who did fucking Rogue One.
Yeah,
The screenplay, I forget who did the screenplay, but he's also done a bunch of big stuff. And I'm like, how did such a talented group of people screw this up so bad? And I really can't help but wonder what went on behind the scenes because I really just can't believe that they really just messed it up so royally when clearly they are such talented people.
the writer wrote the rest of the MonsterVerse films.
Yes, yes, he did.
So, like, it maybe he was just having a hiccup in the beginning.
No, I don't know. I don't know, man. I thought that was kind of weird. I will say another thing that it didn't. I why the fuck are Kong Skull Island and Godzilla 2014 not available to stream anywhere?
Are they
You
not?
have to
Because
buy or rent them. I couldn't find them anywhere. And Godzilla's especially weird because
Godzilla has been on
God
Hulu for a bit.
no, 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 no. It's on Hulu with the Max add-on, but it's not on Max.
Oh, I hate that shit.
So otherwise you do that, or otherwise you can rent them on like Prime Video or something. Which leads me to my next note of 1, 2, 3 movies did not provide an optimal viewing experience.
Next time I'll give you for King of the Monsters, I'll give you my dad's Voodoo. He's got, like,
Oh
all
no, guess what? King of the Monsters is on fucking everything. And so
Oh,
is Godzilla versus Kong. It's just these two. I don't know why.
that's weird. Kong Skull
It's
Island
really
should be
weird.
uh, not to really pivot, but Kong Skull Island is we're gonna go back to Godzilla, but I just need to say that
Yes.
Kong Skull Island is an incredible fucking film, and
Oh
it
no,
should
no,
be
Kong Skull Island is amazing.
it
In
should be
fact,
available everywhere.
I have a lot less notes for Kong Skull Island because I was so enthralled with it. I just stopped and was like,
It's
God, this
so
is so
good, dude.
good. Like, no,
Oh,
it really is amazing.
oh, but we will get to that.
We will. We will get to that.
Do you have more
I
shitting on
have
Godzilla?
yeah, I have a lot more to say.
You keep telling everybody that this place is a death zone, but it's not. You're lying. Because what's really happening is that you're hiding something out there. I'm right, aren't I? My wife died here. Something killed my wife. And I have a right to know. I deserve answers.
You finally get a monster. You finally see a Muto 35 minutes in. It's not Godzilla.
Yes. So I don't have the timestamp for the Mutos. You say 35 minutes, that makes sense. I will say it's 55 minutes before you
55 minutes
see
and you see
Godzilla.
his spine.
And then it's an
It's
hour you see his
59
face.
minutes in that you actually see Godzilla. That is like dead smack halfway into the movie.
It's crazy. But I will link it with this question. Did you like, because I remember it was
No, when they started showing him, it was amazing.
he was heavily hidden in all the promo. And I liked
I don't even remember the promo.
because there's a trailer out there where that's that scene where his wife or sister is in the bunker and the door's closing and Godzilla like grabs the Muto out of the sky and it just closes.
Yeah, I nearly punched through my monitor when I saw that because I was like, show me the fucking fight.
Right.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do remember it.
Well, in the trailer, there's no Muto. It's just a shot that's completely different of Godzilla's face, and like that was all you saw of him.
It seems like from what I remember and what I know of these trailers is that they were very misleading because you're telling me that, and there's also again them making you think that Bryan Cranston was in the whole movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of Bryan Cranston in the trailer because there's a lot of just like yelling, I think.
And to be fair, he's damn good.
He's damn good. Those
The
first 15
the
minutes.
man is always no, literally. Yeah, sorry. You know what? There was someone besides Dr. Ishiro that I cared about, and it was Bryan Cranston's character.
It was Joe Brody.
Yeah, Joe Brody. Which, by the way, come on, Ford Brody. Come on.
Ford and Joe.
These are the most like corn-fed Midwest high school football team names I've heard in my life, which makes sense for Ford, I guess, but not for Bryan Cranston's character. That was Joe Brody. Bro, come on. Anyways, yeah, I literally they do that with hiding, but sorry, well, yes, they show it, which is weird, but the actual cutoff in the movie of the fight, they do that every single time until the final fight. And then even then they cut away for it a bit in the middle. So it's like 5 or 6 times that they do it, and it made me increasingly angrier. And now and even then in the trailer, I can get that. I can kind of get that, right? Hiding the monsters kind of thing. But now the movie's here. Can I see him? Can I see him though? Where the fuck is my lizard, bro?
But
I have a note here when I was just really annoyed with them cutting off these fights. I wish Stewie Griffin was here.
What? Why?
I don't know why, because I was like, man, I could be watching Family Guy funny moments right now.
Cutaway.
Man, this movie boring as fuck.
I'd rather see a Family Guy cutaway than a cutaway from Godzilla fights.
Really though, really, like yes, completely.
But I do feel like they, I don't know, you liken it to something like Alien or something, where like you barely see the villain. And then
Right,
when you
but here's the thing: is that Alien is also like, yes, the aliens are there, but it's especially about the people, though, as well.
Right, you got to make the people more impactful.
Give me fucking Godzilla, and if you are going to make it about the people, make them interesting. Don't give me military propaganda, generic white man number 15.
Weirdly,
like I had another note here of this movie shouldn't be called Godzilla; it should be called generic white military man, featuring Godzilla.
The weirdest
8 minutes
thing.
again, 8 minutes
Of what?
of Godzilla out of 2 hours. He's only
Oh.
in the movie for 8 fucking minutes.
That is
And
wild.
those 8 minutes are objectively the best part of the movie. And that's saying something. Because
But
Bryan Cranston's in the movie for 35 minutes.
right, and those 8 minutes are great. I will say that first 15 minutes is really, really awesome. There's a lot of emotion
the
with him and
movie
his
does
wife and stuff.
grab you very well.
Yeah.
And I do attribute a decent portion of that to Bryan Cranston's acting. He really sells these scenes, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning is still just in general written very well, I would say. I think it's very interesting when they first walk into that cave and they're
Mhm.
like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And that is done very well.
I think it's interesting how Kong Skull Island had better people, like, you care about the people a lot more, but they're also like, "Hey, 3 minutes in, here's the monkey." Like, they don't hold
Yes,
back
so
on Kong at all.
they do quickly show you him, but then when they really show Kong again, because like they show you him in the opening right there,
Mm,
and then when everyone actually gets to the island, they really show you Kong when he starts attacking them because they're bombing the place.
right.
I was like, damn, that's cool. As you just sort of see him, he just posted up, just standing there, and I loved it. I thought that
Oh,
was cool.
fucking
And
those
now,
fucking
again, I want to
shots.
go back to because we mentioned earlier, 59 minutes in, we finally actually see Godzilla,
Mhm.
and they start it in this really cool way with a bunch. They have all these, military propaganda soldiers all over the roofs, and they all fire up flares. And as they go up, you start to see how fucking
Oh,
massive he
dude, that
is,
shot is
and
incredible.
that sent chills down my spine.
It's kinda like
Chills, and that is so like. There's a lot of really good shots of just how things look. The lighting is so well done in this
yeah.
movie. There are so many things that are so well done that then they keep cutting away to these humans, and I'm like, why? Every time you're not with these people, it's so good, and
Mhm.
then you keep showing me them.
Oh, well, yeah, in this rewatch, I likened the, flare scene to the Oppenheimer bomb scene. Like, just that silence of, like, "Here's your monster." Like,
Yes.
it was
See,
so
actually, for
good.
me, that scene again was the airdrop scene into the city.
Okay, yeah. I
Because
gotta go listen to
that
that music
was
again.
flat out creepy.
It's
That
really
that
good.
scene is crazy.
It's the best scene
Um,
with the military people.
it's the only scene of the military people I care about. They also then drop in there, and a guy pulls out like a little like I called it the Modern Warfare 2 heartbeat sensor, and he's like, the nuke's this way. And I'm like, how do you have a nuke detector? And also I'm like, the nuke's analog, right?
Yeah.
Which like there's if you want to get that's one of the things if you want to get picky about it. How is this nuke analog? I mean maybe I'm being stupid because I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I don't think that exists. But again, that's if you want to be a little prick and be like, surely I'll put you in a locker, dude. I swear to God. But I was like, this dude has a nuke detector. What the fuck? I was like, what the fuck is this? I just thought it was funny.
I love how that
Um,
nuke is built in it's, like, in the bottom of, like, a bombed out library.
yeah, there was also another little picky thing with the nuke where I was like, why is it in like the actual like missile fuselage? I don't need that. Like the actual like nukes are not like that big.
Right.
Like they don't need a whole like ICBM for it. It's just in like
You
part of
just
it.
need the,
I'm
like,
like,
the
why do they have
warhead.
this whole thing on a train? You could have thrown this in a van. Which I thought was silly. Now I would imagine the reason that they did it is that most people would see the missile and then actually like visually like register as a
Mhm.
nuclear bomb, and that's probably why. Just another thing that I thought was silly, and you could be nitpicky about, but it's just a little silly. There are some other things like when when Bryan Cranston's character died and they talked to Mr. Gerald R. Ford and go, ah, yes, as the son of a scientist, surely you must be a scientist.
Yeah!
Which was really weird. And I'm like, dude, you were at his house just a few days ago. It's filled with his research. Just give them his
Exactly!
apartment number.
Yeah, all of his stuff is still intact.
And I'm like, why are we all literally? It's all still there.
He's
I
got
don't
shit on the
know
wall.
why anyone is asking questions. You have the answers. Just drive 45 minutes down the road and pick them up.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Um,
I kind of like though how he was like, "I never listened. I thought he was crazy." It's like, yeah, of course he didn't fucking listen.
yeah, that. Uh, I think that's kind of for the first bit where some of my biggest issues. I think where the movie, I mean, it really grabbed me there, but then where the movie started to get my attention back again is when we started getting to Hawaii. Um,
Mhm.
when Godzilla showed up and all like brought a fucking tsunami with him, that was a brutal scene.
Yeah.
It started off with the dog running away, which made me take down the note. Oh no, not the heckin' doggo pupper. Um, now I have to care. Um, but then the scene with the people trying to run and the waves hit them, and they just get completely
Yeah, the
washed away. And
storefront.
dude, the sound, it literally, it feels like something like fucking jibbing someone in like the game Fear. Like it has this chunky fucking sound. Like go back and rewatch it. There's this chunky sound. I'm like, it's like they're in a blender.
Oh god.
Holy shit! Like that was visceral.
It's
That
scary.
was
There's some really
that
scary.
was there. Yeah, and they do a very good job in this movie, I think, of showing the destruction that they can cause.
Yeah.
Given I think in the rest of the MonsterVerse movies, they do a much better job of it. Not necessarily Kong Skull Island because I'm more referring to in an urban environment.
Right.
But I think they do a much better job the other ones. But still, that I was like, oh my god, holy shit! You know, like it was pretty brutal. They
Yeah,
also
'cause
have in Hawaii when the helicopter spins out of control, crashes into an airliner, they both blow up and it triggers a chain reaction of
yeah.
explosions to other airliners. I was like, that's cool as fuck.
Yeah, that was a little wacky, but
That
it
was
is
wacky,
really
but
cool.
that's fine, right? Because like that's what I want from a Godzilla movie.
You know what I
I'm here
love.
for I'm here for the rule of cool.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then there are some things that are wacky but aren't rule of cool, like a
That
nuke detector.
that whole airport scene is fucking badass, and
It's
there's
a very,
one.
very good. Now imagine how much cooler it'd be if you got to see them fight.
Exactly. There's a really good shot though where there's like one of the guys with the lightsabers and they're the air traffic controller. He's
Oh, okay.
like
I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
he's
What
like
did General
under
Ford get a lightsaber?
he's like under one of the plane's wheels and you're like, "Wow, that's a big plane." And then the Mudo is like 12 times the size of that plane. And it's just
Yeah.
like the way that
No,
they
they do a very
shoot
good
it for
job of showing
scale.
the size comparison, especially at the very end, which we'll get to. But when he's like on the ground and the people are up by Godzilla, like gives you a very like
Yeah.
good idea of it. And again, that the whole Hawaii scene though, it would be so much better if we got to actually see them fight. But you do get to see the awesome framing of Godzilla with the flares and stuff. He does this huge just stomp outside that people in the airport see his foot go down. It's like,
Mhm.
oh shit. I have something here that just says POV die, and then immediately do the roar. Um, he did the roar.
He
Um,
did the roar.
he did the roar. Uh, and I go, I love you, Daddy. The God, the Godzilla roar is so good. Like it shakes, dude. I feel like my house is shaking when he does it.
Yeah, it's really,
It's
really fucking good.
crazy,
I
dude.
think the winner of this film is the sound design. Like,
I
not
would
the
say
mixing, but the sound design.
no. Yeah, I'd probably say like sound design, the like visual effects, CGI. Like, oh my God,
Because
just
I love
phenomenal.
his look of being like a big iguana.
Well, he's based on a bear standing on its hind legs, I believe.
Ah, in this one
Is what this
specifically?
yes. Yeah, so I mean canonically he's like a mutated iguana. Although I mean in the MonsterVerse he isn't. Obviously they're like ancient creatures.
Mhm.
Originally I believe he was an iguana that mutated from radiation of nuclear tests.
Hmm.
Um so that's what the original Godzilla is, I believe. But the design for this one is specifically like a bear on its hind legs, I believe is what the design is based on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There was there was a line where I was like, "Shut the fuck up, dude!" And it was right after where he randomly says, "Hey, I was in the military. I'm gonna come," and they're like, "Okay," that you mentioned earlier. That was
Yeah.
fucking stupid. But one of the guys fucking goes, "Guess we're monster hunters now." I'm like, "Shut the." In
I
fact, I took a note here. What are we? Some kind of monster hunter world?
Are we some kind of Suicide Squad?
What are we? Some sort of Godzilla?
I
It was
kind of liked that. I actually did because I was like, just imagine like the military being like, well, fuck it. I guess that's literally what they do in Kong Skull Island. It's like, hey, take your fucking squadron. They're not going home. They're gonna go fight a monkey. It's like, it's just so weird.
true, but it's all in Kong Skull Island though. It's also driven behind something that's just I don't know. It's completely believable with Samuel L. Jackson's character, the Colonel. I'm
Little
blanking on his name. Colonel.
Packard.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's right. Um, but he like clearly this military man of no, we have to take revenge, and they do a very good job of early characterization of his character,
Yeah.
where he says, "We didn't lose the war, we abandoned it."
Hmm.
And it's funny because later on in the movie, when he's very stressed, when he's yelling at everyone saying, "We're gonna fucking kill Kong," he says, "We are not losing this war." And
Yeah.
it's like, it's like clearly it's something he's so hung up on about Vietnam
Hmm.
that it really isn't about the men. It's
Right.
about not losing.
It's a
And
personal
his
vendetta for him.
and because his character is written so well, I can take the like, oh, stereotypical like military men like joking with each other and stuff, because Kong Skull Island is filled with cliches, but they're done well and they're played really fun. The movie takes itself seriously, but not too seriously. It's like
Right.
it's in a very sweet spot.
Hmm.
But it's filled with cliches, but because it's in that sweet spot, they're totally fine. I mean, for God's sakes, when the colonel first gets called up, they go, "I've got one last order for you. One last job." They go and find the old disgruntled special forces veteran. "We need your help one last time." And
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But it's fun, and when you then see these like stereotypes, but it's also around that these are very fun cliches, right?
Mhm.
The cliches of generic like military men in this aren't fun. It can be fun, like in Reacher, but I don't believe that this Gerald R. Ford guy can fucking do anything. I look at this guy, I'm like, why do we got a twink fighting? Um, there
He's
was one.
more
I
he's
will
more
say
like a
I do
mirror,
have.
our window into the world. He's less of a hero we can get behind.
I don't even think he's much of that.
Really?
Ugh, I don't know. I just look at him like, tell me nothing. You tell me nothing. I learned nothing through you. I'm not interested in your character. Like, why? I just kept wondering, like, why is he here? What's the point of it? Because the story isn't interesting. He doesn't really provide anything as a character about of saying anything. It's very just like it's like there's this huge parade to your left. It's so cool. There's this huge parade. They got fireworks. They got like, they got fucking BTS playing over there or some shit. Imagine what every band that you love. Imagine this, Crane.
Yeah.
Imagine they got your favorite band of all time, AJR, over there, right? No matter how bad they are, you're so excited though because AJR is
Wow.
right over there. No matter how bad they are, because they're terrible.
Wow.
But for some reason, everyone keeps putting up a wall in front of them, and it says, "Look to your right," and to your right is literally just like paint drying. And that's what this feels like to me. Is I'm like, yeah, Godzilla, and they're like, but wait, Gerald R. Ford.
It
I'm like,
does feel like
no.
it kind of feels like he's getting dragged along the whole time. Like,
It
"Oh, he's
definitely
gotta come with
does,
us."
which is weird because he forces himself in there initially, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he coulda stayed home
And
and
then even then, he does feel like he's dragged along. Like it doesn't even feel like he wants to be there,
Mhm.
which would make sense. But it's more like as a result of indifference, not from like he doesn't want to die.
Now
You know what I mean?
do you think if they went the Kong route and instead, like, you followed a squad of soldiers, it would be better?
I guess. I mean, if they were more like characterized and whatnot, but even then, the squad of soldiers in that were more for the purpose of the colonel's use
Mhm.
rather than for the story was being partially being pushed forward by the colonel being a piece of shit, and he was using them to do so. If you
Right.
you know what I mean, like partially, if that's
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
any sense. Yeah, and that works. But for this, it's like I don't know. I kept wondering, why is he here? What is the point of this? I don't get it. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just constantly wondering, and like again, even there's a very real way to still only have 8 minutes of Godzilla in this and still make it a good movie, and that was if any of the other characters besides what Joe Brody
Joe
and
Biden.
Dr. Ishiro were like interesting
Yeah.
or like provided anything. But no, instead it is just the most generic military man thing ever. And they even have like the whole thing with the scientist telling him this will never work. He's like, "Shut up, egghead. You haven't been to war." Which literally, like, it's so generic, and it's like they even have the like cliche of like we'll kill him with the sheer force of the nuke,
Mhm.
and then it's like, that doesn't work though. You guys were trying. They say earlier you were trying to kill Godzilla like years ago in like
Right.
the '60s. You
Yeah, I
know this
think
doesn't work.
as we're talking, I think uh, I'm realizing it would have been more interesting if they went the Monarch route and it was more Dr. Ishiro's movie and trying
Yes.
to figure, which I
No,
know
I
would
I
be.
think that will 100% be a good way to Dr. Ishiro's movie because guess what? My God, it's like half his movie in King of the Monsters,
Yeah.
and oh my God, is he so good in that? And it's so interesting. King of the Monsters was crazy because I couldn't believe it. I wanted more of the human side of the story from that.
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. Um, and I think you're right. They made it Dr. Ishiro. If they made Dr. Ishiro sort of the main character instead of Gerald R. Ford, it'd be so much better.
I mean, at the very
Um,
least, look at it as something like with Kong, you were there because of Monarch, but throughout it, while you're having either Kong's story or Hiddleston's story or whoever you
yeah,
want to
and
say,
thing is, they tell Kong's story as you
right,
go as well, which is a big thing.
right,
So
you're
you're
having it
seeing
more
his story
elaborated.
as
His
where
character.
Godzilla feels like an afterthought,
True, yeah, but
and
and
that is a huge problem. And I will say, going back, like I mentioned, oh, shut up, egghead, these explosives will work. And it's funny because they effectively have the same plan in Kong Skull Island,
mhm,
but you also know it will probably work, as you know for a fact. Like everyone knows, no, that doesn't work in Godzilla.
mhm.
Um, uh, but I just
I feel like Skull Island Skull Island kind of works because you are going into a new world. It's an isekai. And then they are going to this mysterious world they've never been to, and you can just do whatever in that arena. Whereas Godzilla is like, hey, he's come to us, and now we have to kind of find a reason why he's there. Okay, let's make it a military plot. And it's like, I don't want a military movie. I want a monster movie. And I feel like to go back to the initial thing about like if you had it focused on Monarch, at least you have people that know why he's there. You've got a reason for him to be there and to be a character. But
right.
in this what we have now, it's putting Godzilla in Brody's story, which I don't give a fuck about.
That's what I said, man. Generic white military man featuring Godzilla.
Right, it's put a big iguana in American Sniper. I'm not
Yeah, where
here.
was Chris Kyle? Why didn't he stop this?
He should
Where,
have.
where was he? Well, yeah, why didn't he shoot the Muto babies?
He was
I don't know what's
alive,
up
I
with
think.
that. I don't know. The Muto got him. Um, I'll say I love the name Muto. You also don't. I don't think. No, I think they say it once, but you also hear. You actually hear the phrase Muto, just it all spelled out in Kong Skull Island. Massive unidentified terrestrial organism.
Mhm.
They say that actually, and that's what Muto stands for.
Yeah.
It isn't the actual name of the creature. It's just what they had before they realized there were more.
I
There are
remember
other.
I remember hearing about Mudos in some kind of promo material and being like, "Is that what the villain was cut what the bad guys were called in Godzilla?"
I don't know why I remember so well, even before rewatching the movie 10 years later. I remembered very well that they were called Mudos, and I couldn't tell you why.
I
I couldn't tell why I remember that. I just like the way it sounds. I think it's a cool name. I
yeah.
think Muto's like a good name for him, and it also has. It also actually sounds Japanese because there are the Japanese letters of mu and to, or I think do.
Oh.
So it actually does sound Japanese. So it kind of fits in with like the monsters.
Hmm.
And I did really like that a lot. Oh, I do have a note here with, Godzilla barely being in the movie. This is like benching LeBron.
It is.
And then I have, fuck this, I'm watching Wife Swap. Chris Pratt did do a great job voicing the Mudos.
Aw.
And David Attenborough voice, the humble Godzilla, about to fuck shit up.
Yeah, for 8 minutes.
Yeah, there were some other things like so they're planning Godzilla was to again with the bomb lure them out, but lure them out way into the ocean because it's such a huge bomb, so they can get away from the city and blow it up there, right? And then they
Ye
just have it in the bay next to the city, and I'm like, okay, so that A was never the plan. Why are you guys here? B, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah, no
Which
one really had an
I
exit.
mean, to be fair, you see, oh, they have a timer, but even then, it's like, what was the plan with that? Because they had it set for like literally, because like when they get to the nuke again, when it gets taken, there's still a half hour left. So did they just have this thing set for like a day and a half
Mhm.
timer? What was the plan here?
And
How do you know that would? I just
they didn't evacuate the city at all, did they?
no. They tried. They had them going over the bridge. Remember?
They put him in a bunker, and then that bunker
No, they put some in a bunker because they couldn't evacuate the city in time. They had a ton of
Oh.
people on the Golden Gate Bridge, and Godzilla showed up. And then the military started shooting him, and he freaked out, and he started damaging the bridge. And the one bus driver was like,
Oh.
"Fuck this! I'm getting out of here!" And I'm like, "That
Right.
guy's smart. I'm with that guy."
Yeah, the one
Um,
bus driver carrying the hero's child.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
And then nothing happens with that, anyways. Like the you do get a cool shot of the Mudo diving down into the water with its wings fully spread, and you really get that B-52 bomber look.
Yeah.
Um, and it looks really, really good. Um, I just again, it always comes back to what the fuck is happening with the humans? None of it makes sense, and I don't even care about them if it did. And
Mhm.
it always comes back to that. And then 2 minutes later, it's like, yes, a monster. And then 30 seconds later, it's like, okay, we're back to the people again.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's this roller coaster of yes, oh,
It's jarring. It
constantly the entire movie.
takes
The
you out of the action.
entire movie. It does. It does that. In fact, and speaking of action, I have another note here of no way Battlefield 4 Levolution, which I thought anytime a building broke apart, because it did look very good breaking apart. There's a lot of cool stuff where like again, the monsters are so cool. You see them they'll walk through buildings and just like not even notice the building was there.
Mhm.
Right? Like there's so many cool parts of that.
I think
And then you get back to
Godzilla
this.
versus Kong does a lot of cool stuff with that too, like
Oh yeah.
just building. I mean, it's
Well,
fun
I
to
don't know if you
see.
saw the recent trailer
Yeah.
for Godzilla X Kong where the Scar King has like a whip thing, he grabs up like a building, rips the top half it off, and fucking hurls it at Kong, who punches straight through it. It's crazy. And I'm like, yes, yes. And
Yes.
I'm so happy that we are simultaneously getting these like awesome monster fight movies and the more symbolic, like serious movies like Minus One.
Mhm.
And I'm very glad that we are getting both
Mhm.
because I love both. Um, and God, it's just, I will say, rewatching 2014, man, has really maybe even I already loved all the movies after Godzilla 2014, but it's made me love them that much more because I know how bad it could have been.
Oh, yeah. It started off pretty bad,
Yeah, it's ugh.
which is weird.
This alpha predator of yours, Doctor, do you really think he has a chance?
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around. Let them fight.
This movie feels like it's in this really weird in between space where it wants to be a cool monster movie, but then also wants to say something, and it barely becomes a cool monster movie because they almost never show that, and then when they tried to say something, it's just fucking nothing. It's in this really weird in between space, I feel like.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, that's the weird thing is, like, Godzilla's always supposed to have and this is kinda like my final note that I had written down is, like, why did he show up? Like, what's the message they were trying to get across? Was it just that he wanted to help out? Or he was just mad he just wanted to stay king of the
and like
monsters?
and like that's for like Godzilla, you mean?
Yeah, like, usually there's a
Yeah, no, what
reason.
that was that they were setting up Godzilla as like he wanted to help. That is his thing. He loves the humans, and that's they talk about this in King of the Monsters.
Okay. So
They
he
also
really just
show
loves
that some of the
people.
Titans are like this, like in Skull Island, where they want to
Gotcha.
protect people as they believe that it is now their time, not the time of the Titans. And that's what Godzilla had
Okay.
said. And in King of the Monsters, we'll see like as the alpha, as the king of the monsters, he said all monsters are going into hibernation. It is time for humans, and like that's the whole thing.
Ah.
But they all wake up because Ghidorah fucks shit up. But we'll get to that next time. Um, but yeah, no, because it's the time for humans. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I do have a note here that I pretty much stopped taking notes during the final fight, the actual fight you get to see, because it was so good. Like, I mean, first of all, I love they do a very good job of show of when he first uses the atomic breath. He like
Mhm.
because like the Muto's about to kill a bunch of people, and then through the smoke and the dust, start to see the spines light up, and you
Yeah.
hear it go as he builds up and just fucking lets it rip on the Muto. And then I love how he kills the male Muto. The male Muto
Mhm.
fucking flies at him and he just fucking spins around and just smacks it with his tail straight into a building and it's just fucking dead on the spot. Crazy. He had barely touched this thing thus far. He practically one hit KO'd this motherfucker.
And it had picked him up and tried to fly away with him.
It was crazy. He fucked that thing up by just boom, smacked it with his tail. And then the one part of the movie that I remember so vividly, the absolute best part of the fucking movie,
Mhm.
when he kills the female Muto. The
Yeah.
female Muto was about to kill Gerald R. Ford, which I was rooting for. I thought it would have been awesome. Godzilla shows up though, grabs it from behind, pries its mouth open like it's his dog and he's trying to see what it has in its mouth. Pries the mouth open and atomic breaths straight down its throat and it comes out the back of its neck and its head just fucking falls off. It is my second favorite atomic breath of all time. My favorite is Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla's atomic breath, I shed a tear when I first saw it.
Oh.
It's have you seen it?
No, I've never seen Shin Godzilla.
So Shin Godzilla is great. It is a bit of a tough watch. Um, and it's so that it does have a lot of issues where most of the movie is actually just scenes of people having meetings. But that's the point. It's a
Yeah.
criticism of the government of Japan and the bureaucracy behind it, etc. But yeah, it's look it up. I can't just explain to you. You have to look up the atomic breath scene. It's viscerally terrifying.
Oh my god.
Especially when you understand that Godzilla does not want to do this. Shin Godzilla is in pain. It is
Oh.
screaming out as every cell in its body is constantly evolving, and
Oh.
that is the release of energy that makes it calm. And that one, just look it up. It's incredible.
I'll
Um,
watch it. I gotta watch the movie. I've
but
heard it's very good.
uh, God, and I do want to watch minus one Godzilla. I did see a scene of atomic breath in that where he sort of like just like lurches forward and fires it off. I do like how his spines in minus one they
Yes.
insert and then come back out like a uranium fuel rod in a
Yeah,
reactor,
they, like,
which
lock
is
in.
genius. Yeah, because they're like fuel rods. It's completely genius.
It's
Um,
really, really cool.
uh, but yeah, I still talk about that. It's still very easily my favorite in the MonsterVerse for sure. It's such a cool atomic breath scene. It's just incredible, and they at least did a good job with that. Like that final fight is very good, even if they do cut away halfway through to show the humans again. But then they get back to it at least. So
And then he gets saved. Ford Brody falls asleep on the boat, and someone just finds him.
Yeah, and he pulls him in a boat. Someone just finds him, and then he goes, and then he's at the stadium first.
What do you mean?
Remember when he reunites with his family at like the stadium?
Yeah.
How did he get there first?
Oh, you mean like
Wouldn't his
before
wife
his
already
wife?
be there? Like
Yeah,
his
it seemed
kid got
weird.
out, so that made sense. I mean, I guess maybe she went out to get the kid and then came back, and I guess yeah, that did make sense.
I
Um,
mean, comparatively, what are the odds that the when he saved that kid in Hawaii and then was gonna look for the parents and they were just there? Like, they took a different train.
you know what the want to guess what the odds of me caring about any of them are? I'll give you a hint. It's very low.
Oh, it's a rough watch. That's a rough movie.
Again, man, it's a roller coaster of yeah, yeah, and
Oh,
it really is just so infuriating. It's exhausting. It's
it is.
tiring because of that.
But do you wanna jump to Kong?
I do because I got a lot of good things to say about Kong. I got it.
To be a bit
I
happier?
don't think I have a bad note here.
No?
Kong's God on the island, but the devils live below us.
And what are they called?
The Iwis won't speak their name, but I call them skull crawlers,
Why?
because it sounds neat.
Okay.
Look, I just made that name up.
No,
I'm like trying to find something. Yeah, I have John Goodman frowny face when he dies.
oh,
I think that's it. um, oh yeah, my final note in this one is, hey, I actually know some of their names. Um, but
I
so I want to start at the beginning with this one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
With one of probably the coolest openings to a movie I've ever seen, with the character who would later be played by John C. Riley, like years later, fighting a Japanese pilot who has a katana, and he goes to stab him, and he grabs the katana with his bare hands, and the guy he just keeps slicing it forward, and he just keeps squeezing as he screams in pain. It is
Yeah,
a crazy way to open the movie, and then Kong shows up and stops them, and that's like the cold open. It's like, oh my god, it's
yeah.
so cool. And then it does the thing, like again, I mentioned they did in Godzilla 2014, where it's all this like old black and white like photos and footage of them like talking about it and whatnot that relates to Godzilla, or in this case, Kong.
This one
And
was related to, like, the war ending and stuff too.
yes, yeah, to the war. Um, which oh yeah, something I meant to mention earlier as well as we were talking about it, but how this them going into Skull Island kind of mimics Vietnam. As you had mentioned, yeah, they go in for this war and they just try and do whatever they want, but in reality, they are the invaders.
Mhm.
Is very much reflectant of Vietnam. You
Yeah,
can
I
draw
mean
so many comparisons to what they are doing in Kong Skull Island to Vietnam, and that loops back to the Colonel not accepting another loss because this in his head, this is his chance to win Vietnam.
right, right, and I had, like, the one of the first notes I was gonna make was, like, don't you get sick of, because like, they're all kicking around and having a great time, and I was just like, "Great, another movie that glorifies Vietnam." But it was like, "No, this is the end." Like, that's why they're happy to fucking get out of there.
Oh no, yeah, and also like they have the cliche like the Vietnam soldiers and whatnot just like messing with each other and whatnot, but it's I don't know, it's just played pretty fun. Like
Mhm.
the movie, like when it needs to, takes itself seriously, but when it doesn't need to, it does have fun with it. Like any scene John C. Riley is in, who is amazing in this movie, by the way. I adore him.
You didn't find that he was, like, too goofy? You thought that it worked
It is
with
jarring at first.
okay.
It is definitely jarring at first. But I think after about 10 minutes or so, I'm like, okay, I kind of welcome aboard, especially when you get later on where he's like, no, we have to get out of here now.
Mhm.
And when or there's the one scene where they're in like a Mexican standoff with the colonel and John C. Reilly's character, he turns to I forget who it was, but it was one of the colonel's soldiers, and he goes, "Do the right thing, son."
Yeah.
That was really good, and yeah, I agree. At times, maybe it's a bit too much, but I understand why he's there for some comedic relief, and it does go a little too far sometimes. But I think for the most part, it is definitely within a totally acceptable sort of range.
No, I agree with that. What you're saying?
Whatever you said. Yeah, whatever.
No, I listened. I heard you. I do think that it does. It plays with. It's got a good amount of silly, a good amount of humor. I mean, you got your "hold on to your butts" line,
But you know what it's
like,
got? It's got a lot of cool.
yeah, and then a lot of cool on
It
the
has
other.
cool
Yeah.
factor. And another thing that was refreshing, it wasn't a big part, but it's refreshing, was that the indigenous people weren't these savages.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could make the argument that like they had, oh, they barely wore clothes. That some people try to, that kind of say, oh, well, that makes her savages, which is stupid to do. But it is interesting that it's mentioned like no, they're beyond worldly possessions. They're a very spiritual people in that sense that I thought was very interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually honestly would have liked to see more of them in the movie. I thought they were pretty interesting.
Well, do you think I makes you wonder if they're gonna come back because I
Well,
feel like.
I mean, there's the girl in Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh yeah, she's one of them, isn't she?
What do you mean one of them?
Or is she not one of the she
No. She's a member. She was a member of the tribe, I think. I
of
think
that
she's a member of
tribe?
the tribe, but I think she was adopted by one of the researchers or something like that.
Okay.
I think it was something like that. But
I
yeah,
remember none
they
of
were
that
interesting.
movie.
I remember a good portion of it. I remember that my hot take is it is my favorite Mecha Godzilla design. I think Mecha Godzilla looks absolutely incredible.
He is very
It's so
cool.
cool looking. But to Skull Island. Um, Another thing about it is anytime someone dies in this movie, it is fucking brutal.
Mhm.
I mean, first of all, my favorite one, and it's the funniest one, and it's the scene everyone talks about, is when they're getting chased towards the end by one of the skull crawlers, and the one guy goes, "You guys go, I've got this."
Yeah.
He like
His
it's played
sacrifice.
as a cliche. It's played as a cliche, and it's like, are we really doing this? Fucking smacks him with his tail into a fucking mountain. It does fucking nothing, and
It's
it's so
so
fucking
good.
funny. It's so perfect because they kind of had again. It's like, oh, they're doing this cliche. It's like, no, fuck you, we're not doing that. And it was so funny because
Mhm.
by that point, I think if they kept bringing in new cliches, it would have been a problem. But it worked. Um, that was good. I think the one that every time I watch this movie, I'm like, holy fucking shit, is when they encounter the giant spider and they turn
Okay.
around and this dude has what you think is a tree just straight
Oh,
up through him coming
yes,
out of
he's
his mouth. No,
impaled.
it's one of the spider's legs. I mean,
Yes.
that whole scene's fucking crazy, but when they turn around and see that, every time my jaw drops.
Does that
I'm like,
fuck with you because of the spider?
they don't get too close to the spider for the most part. They don't show its fucked up face and shit, thankfully. But no, I do get a little heebie-jeebies. I do not want to be on that fucking island. I'll tell you that much. There's
No,
another
and that's
really brutal one that is a really cool shot though, where one of the soldiers gets picked up by like those fucking weird pterodactyl things, and
yeah.
four of them bring him into the air and just fucking rip all his fucking limbs off. But you see it as like a silhouette in front of the setting sun. It looks
Mhm.
visually really good, but it's also just brutal. And that's sort of like contradiction, I feel like, is something that this movie keeps doing to its benefit of these
Mhm.
silly cliches, but doing them very well.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
even when you have, that part where Kong just, like, flattens a dude, like, just steps
Yes.
on him, it's
Oh
like,
yeah. Do you mean
that's
the
a
colonel
st
at the end?
well,
Because
that
because
too.
the colonel's about to detonate it, and Kong just goes and just squashes him with his fist,
Right, right.
which I love, by the way.
Yeah, even that too, it's like, that's, like, cartoonish violence, but it's done in a way that's, like, legit scary.
You could like I think it's comparable to Doom and Doom Eternal, where it's almost like it's slapstick.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
But
And I
also
think the one that
frightening.
strays the furthest from it is the spider scene. But like even the brutality of the guy getting his limbs ripped off, because the background is so pretty, it's like it's almost slapstick. The spider
Mhm.
one is different because they turn around, it's like holy shit. You know what I mean? But a
Yeah,
lot of the
that
other deaths are played in this silly way. Even when like there's the one dude that basically you get the jump scare from the crawler. Um, was it Christopher or something? Where they go, he's like, my man's out there. I need to go find him. Towards the end, that's why they go north
Oh,
or west.
Chapman.
Yes, and they go out there like we can't go out there, can't go west. He's like, my man's out there, and one of the skull crawler comes up and he just like throws up a skull and his dog tag. It's
Yeah.
like even if the initial death was brutal, it still ends up funny after the fact.
Mhm. I mean,
And
then
it does
and
that
then
a
that
lot in the
the Skull
movie
Crusher,
to its benefit because
it
it's still having fun with it.
yeah, it, like, straight up grabs a dude with its tongue and just sucks it right in. Like
Yeah.
there's some crazy deaths in it. I did
Yeah,
feel like
and
in
then
the
even the monsters' deaths are brutal. Like the
mhm.
way Kong kills the big one, he like rips its fucking tongue out.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Like
and I think that
Kong
there's
fucks some shit up in this movie.
there's a lot of cool, this is, like, my main note, was there's a lot of cool homages to what King Kong is, but while also making a totally new story. Like,
Yeah,
there's
there is one really weird scene where he looks at Brie Larson as if he remembers the blonde lady that he once stole and climbed the Empire State Building with.
right, right,
Which
and they
very
do, like,
briefly I saw, I was like, oh, that's kind of silly.
I mean, just,
Like
like,
it
thinking
clearly
about
doesn't mean anything in the narrative. It's just kind of funny.
right, and it feels like they just wanted to put, like, these little, like I said, these little homages. There's the bit with the helicopters, and it's just like there's a camera shot where, like, they're zooming around him, and he's just looking up at them, very reminiscent of him on top of the Empire State Building. There's a line where they're like, "Oh, we need to bring back evidence or something," and it just feels like when they wanted to bring Kong back to America. And then there's a bit, that we were just talking about where, oh yeah, the way that he kills the skull crusher. He tries to, like, grab its jaws and rip it backwards, and that's how he legit
So
kills that fucking T-Rex in the Peter Jackson one.
the one from like was it 2005 or something?
Yeah, he takes a
But that
T-Rex
didn't
and
that
he
have Jack
just
Black in it?
yeah.
Yeah. I've only seen bits and pieces of that movie.
Oh, it's good. It's
But
long,
I've
but
heard
it's
it's good.
good.
I've heard it's good.
And
So I'll have to
surprisingly,
put it on my list.
the ride, I didn't know this, the ride at Universal Studios is not based off of Kong Skull Island. It's based off of the Jack Black version.
That's kind of crazy. That's still up.
It's new. It's from, like,
Oh,
2017.
huh. That's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
They made it, like, after this movie came out, but it's not that Kong.
Huh.
But, yeah, that's a sidebar.
Huh. That's interesting. Um,
But the
one of the
biggest
little.
thing,
Oh
yeah,
no,
go ahead.
continue.
No, you please.
Oh fuck you. Fine, I'll continue. Um, one of my one of my a little tidbit that I really liked that my friend pointed out was it's shortly after everyone crash lands because of Kong and whatnot. And the one guy, the black guy who's with John Goodman, I'm blanking on his name. Fucking love this guy.
Oh, the Monarch guy? I forget.
Yeah, no,
Something
I
with
liked him
D.
a lot. I'm blanking on his name, but he's freaking out. It's like we need to fucking leave. And my friend Noah's like, I'm on his side. We need to get out. For everyone else is pretty calm and collected, and they actually play the kind of funny the way that
Mhm.
like like he walks up to the one guy who's just like eating a snack, just
Yeah.
sitting on like the crashed helicopter. He's like, living's gotta eat.
Living's gotta
Um,
eat, right.
but I mean, it's because they've all seen war. They've all been to Vietnam. They're just back there again. And it's the same thing with even Brie Larson's character because
Mhm.
she was a war journalist in Vietnam. And then you had Tom Hiddleston's character, who is awesome, by the way. Um, was in the SAS. Like that dude's seen fucking hell. Um,
Mhm.
so it's like it's this neat little tidbit where the people who this is just a Tuesday for them, and I liked that little tidbit there. I thought was good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I think it does a lot better being a social commentary on war, which is, uh, funny because it's like Godzilla was more modern, whereas this was more Vietnam and, like, not not a modern war
I'd say
satire.
it's a I don't know if social commentary is the right word. It definitely, has some things to say about, our role in Vietnam and whatnot, but it is mostly surface level kind of things where oh, we had no place in Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. We caused a lot of problems and we're in the wrong. It is
Mhm.
very surface level, but that's okay. because it's okay for a monster movie to be surface level.
Yeah.
I just feel like social commentary has the connotation of it being pretty in depth, which I don't think it is, which again is okay. But it has a very good balancing act. Like I
Yeah.
said, it has all these cliches, these serious moments, but then also these silly moments. And it's kind of slapstick. It's such a well just balanced movie. Every part of it
Mhm.
is great. I love the different areas of the island that they go to. Like the bamboo forest where the guy died to the spider. They go through the jungles, they're on the beaches. When they go to what is a mass grave of Kong's
Yeah.
family, and Brie Larson's character says, "I've taken enough photos of mass graves to know one when I see one."
Yeah.
Paraphrasing here, but and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
And then also, you had Tom Hiddleston who just pulls out a fucking katana, and that was cool.
It's
He
probably
played
my
with a
favorite
katana.
scene.
It's so cool. He like slices one of them in half in slow motion.
Mhm.
It's so much fun because it's not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah. No, none it's and that's I'll just jump to like the biggest thing for me of this film is like the cinematography of I mean it's crazy to say that. I was saying about Godzilla too, like all these shots, and like I know that it's computer generated, but like the things that they've built with some of these shots are absolutely iconic.
And
Like
I
all
agree, but it's also worth noting, like, yeah, it's computer generated, but I can't tell you another anything I've seen with better CGI than like this, and you know, like in like
no.
-1. I
Yeah.
couldn't I couldn't tell you because like even like obviously you know they have issues with CGI that's a result of mistreating workers in like modern Marvel, but some of the like the older to like mid age Marvel movies had really good CGI, but fucking nothing like out of the MonsterVerse films.
Mhm.
The monster are insane. It's completely insane.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw King of the Monsters in theaters, and the final fight is in Boston, right? They like destroy Fenway.
Oh yeah.
We walked out of the theater, and I was like, I'm gonna open my map real quick. It's so real, and I'm like, oh shit, that's my college, dude. Like it all looks so incredibly good. It's the
Yeah.
best CGI I've ever seen.
Mhm. And they still take the effort to set up little things like I mean, just that fucking shot. I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier, but that shot of his silhouette against the sun with the helicopters flying toward him is one
That's
of
great. No,
the
I saw that and was like, that's wallpaper material right there.
dude, it's one of the coolest things in film.
It's
Like
so
it's
incredibly good
brilliant.
looking.
And the slow-mo is so good. Like it's not like Snyder slow-mo. It just it works
And I
in
think what's
every
so
bit.
interesting about their ability to make King Kong cool is that I really never cared about King Kong before this. Again, I
Mhm.
heard the Peter Jackson film was very good, but I was never invested in King Kong. I didn't really care. I was like, he's you know he's big ape, you know
Yeah.
he's big old monkey. And then I
Well,
saw Kong Skull Island for the first time and was like, holy shit,
yeah,
they make him so cool.
they never really made him a badass before this.
He's
I mean, he
just
was
so
always a
cool now.
kind of a protector, and yeah, like the fight with the dinosaurs in the Peter Jackson one is pretty awesome. But like, just the things like even when he takes the fucking octopus and he's like, "Fuck you," rips it
Yes.
apart and drags it home. like, like hell yeah, you're awesome.
I did find it amusing that everything on the island was basically, for the most part, just like normal stuff, but just bigger.
Yeah.
And which brings me to my absolute favorite, like non like main monster design, and that is the giant stick bug. The giant stick bug is so
Yeah.
cool. It's in it for all of I think 8 seconds, and it's so cool looking. I adore it.
Isn't it just like they shoot him and he's like, "Hey."
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, man, what'd you do that for?" And he like turns around and walks away, and then they get jumped from behind by a skull crawler. Um, but it's, I was like, God, because that even again, holy shit, the CGI on that is insane.
Mhm.
It looks so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and even, like, up against humans, like, it all looks so real. Nothing
No,
looks
it does.
silly.
It's
Like,
completely insane how good it looks, and even again, the Godzilla 2014 did this very good as well. But like just general, just lighting and stuff, and the way things look under night, or even when explosions go off. There's this one brief part where like a grenade is thrown into like one of the skulls of like the dead Kongs,
yeah.
and it just like blows it apart. But first you see like the light of the explosion coming out of like the eye sockets, and it looks so good. And I keep watching this like, dude, if I was a kid, I would straight up think this happened.
Oh, yeah.
I would be asking my dad, "Can we go see Kong? Can I meet him? Is Bart Simpson gonna be there?" Like, I think this shit was real.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool. Can we talk about how there's a triceratops on that island at some point?
Really?
Yeah, they put the gunner when they are in the graveyard, the gunner sets up on top of a triceratops skull.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you're. I thought you meant like a living one. But no, yes, I love it. He goes like all right, mount the 50 cal, and it has a quick like ching, cha, chum, like these quick cuts as he sets it up and like pulls back the charging handle. It's it's so fucking funny.
But that also that skull also just gets blown to bits. And it's
Yeah.
like it's done so well. It's such a well-made movie, and I don't think we talk about it enough.
No, I know. And again, every time it is brought up, it's generally that one guy making a useless sacrifice, which is fine. It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Mhm.
But no, it really is so good. And I feel like there are probably people that do kind of write it off because it's a monster movie, but it really is amazing. And now,
Yeah.
again, if you're looking for something that really goes deep into the commentary about war, you have come to the wrong place. It's pretty surface level, but that's okay. Like, it's so good. It's, oh my God.
It's kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it, because I was gonna be like, it's kinda like if you want a war movie, but it's also a monster movie, and then I'm thinking, I likened Godzilla to Alien. I could liken this to Predator.
I can see that.
Like, it's kinda weird how they both, in a way, have their vibes, but I think that it's very, very minimal.
Yeah.
It's just like Kong Skull Island can be a movie that you just watch for the fun, and everybody can probably get something out of it. And
I don't know anyone who's seen it and just, wasn't super didn't like it.
yeah,
Like everyone I know who's seen it has been like, "Yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed that."
yeah, it's a good time. Definitely better than Godzilla.
That's for fucking sure. Until we hit King of the Monsters, baby.
So we King of the Monsters, which kind of brings us to our final bit, that there's the stinger at the end of Kong Skull Island, and it shows it's Tom Hiddleston, who's not in King of the Monsters.
That's okay.
um, Being shown that there are more monsters, including Rodan, Ghidorah, and Mothra, which are all three of them in King of the Monsters?
Yeah, they have a lot of the major ones.
Wow.
They also have the one that's like a big tortoise, which I'm blanking on, but I really liked. Um,
Oh,
hold on. List of monsters in Godzilla
you
King of
Destroya?
the Monster. No, so they tease Destroya, but they
Oh,
haven't done anything with him yet. Destroya's origin is the oxygen destroyer bomb that they dropped to try and kill Ghidorah, which almost kills Godzilla as well.
oh, okay.
That's Destroya's that's Destroya's like origin.
Hmm. It's like everything that we do builds another monster. And
Basically.
I love that that's brought up a lot in this whole MonsterVerse, is like, listen, there was bombings, they were not tests, they were trying to kill something. Like, even that the USS Lawton that gets mentioned, like the ship that Rando was on, I hope that that's shown at some point in MonsterVerse,
Yeah.
because that seems to be like an origin of how Monarch came to be. Maybe that's what Monarch the show is about. I don't know.
Yeah. Um oh yeah, they show Muto Prime in King of the Monsters.
Oh wow.
There's yeah, which I didn't know reading this here, was in a spin-off comic where it actually fought Godzilla.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, no, sorry. the spin-off comic was actually before, and then it was then as revealed in Godzilla King of the Monsters, another female Muto was shown. Awakened by Gear Skull. Yeah, there was Scylla, the Behemoth, which is like the big like mammoth one.
Okay.
Oh, Methuselah is like the giant like land tortoise one that I mentioned that I really liked.
Methuselah.
Yeah, that one's really cool. I'm a big fan of that one. I am very excited to get talked about King of the Monsters because King of the Monsters is so cool. I adore Mothra's design in it. I'm a little disappointed that they kind of did Mothra's whole shtick very early. Mothra's whole shtick is always that she dies to save Godzilla. That is what Mothra does.
Right.
And I'm a little disappointed that they did it so early because if there's going to be more, I would definitely like to have more Mothra. I adore Mothra.
Well, I can't wait to hear why you adore Mothra
Mothra's just cool, bro.
when we return next week with our part 2. Did we cover enough of your notes that I'm not
Yeah,
leaving
oh
you
no, yeah,
hanging?
we basically covered everything. I got to complain about Godzilla 2014 enough, and I talked about everything that I absolutely adore about Kong Skull Island because Kong Skull Island is awesome.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for joining me on this.
Thank you.
We will we'll be reconvening in a week. We'll have King of the Monsters, and do we want to do fuck? Do we want to do King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong? Or do we do like King of the Monsters and then we could even just for shits and giggles, we could do King of the Monsters and we could do like Shin Godzilla and just talk about that on the side.
I kind of want to say that considering our usual issues of getting together like at all, we
Yeah.
got lucky with enough time to do it this time. Maybe we just do one movie.
All right, let's do a movie. Let's do King
Okay,
of the
cool.
Monsters.
Cool.
Cool. We'll do King of the Monsters and then we'll end up again doing Godzilla versus Kong in another week. But yes, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to this here podcast feed because we've got Game of the Year shit that's going to be coming out very shortly. And I know that it's very late on that, but we had to get together at some time and get that shit done. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
This island is just the beginning.
There's more out there.
What do you mean, more?
This world never belonged to us. It belonged to them. The question is how long before they take it back. Kong is not the only king.